Welcome, everyone. It's the Crypto Lark. Super excited to have on today Flori from Blockfi. How's it going?
Going pretty well. I'm excited for the holidays.
Yeah, it's coming up so fast. It seems like we just had Christmas, and here it is again coming.
Yeah, the year really flew by.
It's amazing how fast it goes. And of course, it's been a big year for BlockFi as well. So much has happened and new features and stuff coming on board. But before we break all of that down, I just want to give a massive thank you to the community. So today, a lot of the questions that I'm going to be asking come from you guys, the community. So thank you to everyone who took the time to write those very thoughtful questions that we'll hopefully try and get to most of them anyway. I've got a few of my own questions thrown in here as well. And just a quick note for everyone, this is not a sponsored interview, but I am an affiliate for BlockFi, and I do regularly use and enjoy the service. Also, there is currently a smoking hot deal running for BlockFi, so you can get $30 in free crypto if you deposit $100 or more before December 2nd and hold it there until the new year. Now, this must be your first deposit, first time signing up for the service, and you must sign up using the link down below. Now, with all of that being said, for anybody who doesn't know about the service or isn't aware of what BlockFi is doing, can you give us the elevator pitch?
Yeah, of course. So it's crazy to think about that in the beginning of this year, we actually only had one product, but today, BlockFi is the leader in creating financial products for crypto investors. So we currently offer two products. The first is an interest account where crypto investors can deposit stable coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum through Blockfi and earn up to 8.25% per year. So very similar to a savings account, just for crypto. And
But
our
with way
second
better
product,
rates.
yeah, way better rates. It's crazy out there, all those people holding, dollars with Chase making less than 1% when you can be making 8.25% through BlockFi.
It's crazy. I saw one of
Um,
them's actually given like 0.01%. Like, that's mind boggling.
yeah, it pains me to think about it. Definitely get off of that if you have all your savings at Chase right now. Many better options out there. But our second product is US dollar loans backed by crypto. So for people that have at least $10,000 worth of crypto, you can borrow against those assets and access cash without selling. And those interest rates start as low as 4.5%.
And that's an amazing service for people because I know there's stuff happens, right? Stuff happens in life, and you might not want to sell your Bitcoin, especially if like the market's down or something. You're like, oh, I really need some cash, but I don't want to sell my Bitcoin now. So this kind of fills in that gap.
Yeah, so the two primary reasons why people borrow are one, we're all long-term believers. So the value of this asset, I believe, is going to go up over time, and why exit that future gain right now. And so US dollar loans allow you to access liquidity without selling. So some people borrow against their crypto, to redo their kitchen or to buy a car, and be able to, live the life that you'd like to live or diversify your portfolio without selling your Bitcoin. And then the second reason is there's some tax incentives. So if you sell Bitcoin now and you bought it a while ago, you have to pay capital gains tax on the difference between the two prices. And if you're borrowing, you're not incurring that tax. So
And so
very
what's
helpful.
what's really like the driving ethos behind BlockFi?
So for the what I'm most excited about is kind of like the long-term goal, which every month we get a little bit closer towards. And really, it's that for the first time in history, crypto allows us to have a global asset with instant international transactions where you don't have to go through an intermediary bank. It's one price around the world, 24/7. And what that means to me is that for the first time ever, we can create US grade financial services available worldwide. And that's kind of what we're building towards. But right now, what we're doing is to build the bridge between traditional finance and crypto. So basically, to build products that people can use in US dollars through Chase or other banking services and make it available with the highest quality, lowest cost products for crypto investors.
Nice. Now, I've got a question here from Phil. We're going to start getting into the community questions here. So the first one comes from Phil, and this is probably one of the most common questions that I've seen. I'm choosing Phil here, but actually I've seen this come through quite a few different times from a few different people. So really, just to give a really kind of in-depth and detailed answer about the risks of depositing with BlockFi. So what could actually go wrong when people deposit with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great question. And it's also a difficult question. We were talking about this a few minutes ago that, if you're sitting out there and you can evaluate different startups and be able to tell me which one's going to exist 5 years from now amidst the market volatility, you should probably be working in venture capital. But what is like the simple way to summarize the risks? And I think for BlockFi, the way to think about it, if you're thinking about using our products, is really to look at our history. So we've been around since August of 2017. We've existed through full years of bear markets, like single day, 45% swings in volatility. And that's
We all love
normal.
those.
Yeah, I mean, crypto is not for crybabies. But yeah, that's normal day-to-day operations for us. And really the scenarios that people have to be careful about when you are giving your keys or your crypto to someone else are what happens in a cataclysmic event. So what happens if the entire industry crashes overnight? And there, I think the question lies in how were these companies built and how are we regulated, right? So what are the rules that we abide by where we are accountable to giving your crypto back to you? And I think one of the things that differentiates BlockFi from many other companies out there are both the quality of our investors. So we don't have a token in our model. We're VC funded. Some of the most notable investors include Fidelity, Galaxy, Mike Novogratz's company, and most recently Valar. And
Valar, by the way,
yeah,
is backed by Peter Thiel, right?
yeah,
For everyone out there,
yeah,
in case you don't know.
yeah. Yeah, well, we can talk. Yeah, Valar's backed multiple companies, including like N26 and TransferWise. So those guys really just know how to scale big businesses to serve millions of consumers, and that's what we're looking to do here. And the other part of the question is, how are we regulated? So BlockFi has multiple state-by-state lending licenses. We're regulated, or we're registered as an MSB with FinCEN. So basically you have many US government agencies looking directly at our operations on a day-to-day basis and making sure that we are treating customer funds in line with their expectations.
And that's the thing, it's always a risk to reward kind of ratio, and you've got all these guarantees in place, right? And so for a lot of people to look at that and go, wow, that's really impressive, who you're backed by and the kind of different licenses and things you already have. And some people will say, well, it's still not enough. And I guess for those guys, it's, well, then look somewhere else, right? But I want to go on to the next one. This is from Christine Lewis. She wants to know, does BlockFi engage in fractional reserve lending? Maybe you can just give us a quick note on fractional reserve lending for anybody who might not be familiar with that. And can you explain how you are not a bank?
Yeah, for sure. I think this is a great question. And I will say that we love hard questions. One of the things that we invested in as a company to kind of differentiate ourselves in the space is fantastic customer service. So if you email our support email, we have an amazing team of people that used to work in finance and also came from crypto, and they love tough questions. So if this question spurs more questions and you're listening to this, please email them. They would love this one. But fractional reserve lending is something that banks do with their deposits. So basically, when you deposit $1 at a bank, what they do is then they can take that dollar and lend it out to, let's say, like someone looking to take out a mortgage, and that mortgage can be due 30 years from now. So there's this concept that's called maturity transformation, where that $1 deposit for you, you can take it back tomorrow, but the bank isn't going to get it back for 30 years. And while there are some similarities between what we do at BlockFi and banks, and that similarity is that we take in deposits and then we lend that crypto out to institutions. The key difference is in maturity transformations. So we do not have that mismatch that banks do in that maturity. So in our structure, we have the ability to call back crypto from the institutional borrowers at any time, and that's matched with the customer's expectation on how quickly they can get their crypto back from BlockFi.
Nice. Nice. It's I certainly understand, people's worries around, oh, we're recreating the banking structure and stuff. There's nothing wrong with financial services. The thing is that when we talk about the banks, they've just gone so far overboard with some of the things that they do, right? It's not that the idea of borrowing and lending is inherently bad or anything like that. Financial services are great, and a healthy part of a financial ecosystem is when you let corruption run without any kind of limits. That's when you start running into the problem, which is, of course, where we've seen a lot of the banks going wrong.
Yeah, and borrowing I think does get a bad rap within the crypto space. We see that a lot on Twitter and different people interacting with the platform. But my core belief is that part of what drives asset value is utility, right? So the more ways that you can do things with crypto, the more ways that you can interact with that asset, the more reasons I can give your mom to buy her first $20 worth of Bitcoin, the more the space is going to grow over time because it'll drive adoption and it'll drive development. And I think that will positively impact the price over time.
Nice. Now, the next one is from Jared Turner. He wants to know about BlockFi's security arrangements. So is there like a reserve fund, or is there some kind of insurance backing BlockFi deposits? And what kind of security do you have in place to ensure that, funds are not lost?
For sure. I think this is a great question and it's really important. We don't hold any of the keys ourselves. So we use Gemini as our primary custodian. Gemini keeps 95% of their assets in cold storage and 5% in hot wallets. And I believe they were actually the first exchange to get insurance on the hot wallet covered by Aon against hacks. And then Gemini, as well as BlockFi, has a bunch of licenses. They're a licensed custodian. They're regulated by the NYDFS. And they recently did their SOC2 examination done by Deloitte. And in regards to security, this is something we take very seriously. And we offer 2FA with Google Authenticator during your login. And there's 2FA anytime you want to request a withdrawal. And certain withdrawals on top of that require additional verification based on security and compliance triggers that we have in-house. And then lastly, we just launched whitelisted withdrawal addresses. So in general, every single BlockFi withdrawal has a 1 business day hold, which helps our customers protect themselves against hacks.
Nice, nice. So lots of good things in place there. Now, one thing that I've seen, I guess around the concern of, giving your crypto to a company, and this one comes from Carl Hughes, the crypto hound, the crypto hound. Now, he asked about the security of funds. So what happens if BlockFi goes out of business? What will actually happen to the deposits in that situation?
So in the downside where this is where it goes back to, how are we structured and how are we licensed? Before we would shut down, we would have to take all of our assets and give them back to the person that we owe them to in the order in which they are owed. And clients sit at the top of that order. So let's say tomorrow, for some reason, we have to shut down our doors, we would go through each one of our clients and give them back their crypto.
Nice, nice. Now, I want to get a little more about how Gemini is involved here. So this one comes from Kevin Sauer. Will there be more functionality between BlockFi and Gemini? And will there be seeing more features between BlockFi and Gemini? And if so, what might those features be and when will we see them?
We're actively working with them on having further integrations. We're really close with the Gemini team. I was in their offices last week doing a panel. and also the Winklevoss, which backed Gemini, also invested in BlockFi. I think there's a lot of space for integration. Some products that I would love to see are, if you could access all of the BlockFi products directly through Gemini. I think that would make it a lot easier for many of our users. So over the coming months, we're definitely working on increasing our integrations, while at the same time balancing our product roadmap to constantly make our products better for the users directly on our platform.
Nice. Now, the next one comes from BitSpark, actually, and they're asking about the transparency of your products. Basically, how can you, prove to people that the assets are safe, and are there any kind of audits that are being done to prove that?
Yep, great question again. So we did a financial audit in 2018, and we have monthly unaudited financials. Every single one of our KYC and AML policies has been audited. Each one of the state licenses that we have, so each of those regulators review our financials at least on a yearly basis, and they also require additional reporting and transparency. And but actually the key thing that's the easiest thing to look at is each time we raise a round of capital. So the most recent was August of 2018. Those investors bring in their lawyers, so outside lawyers from outside of BlockFi, and they analyze every single thing that we do, every contract that we've signed, every partnership that we have, every single dollar and every single Bitcoin and ETH that we move around. They audit that and make sure that it's in line with what we're representing. So many audits in place by third parties.
Nice. Now, one of the most common questions I see too is who's on the other end? Who's actually borrowing, right? So when we make these deposits, who's coming in and saying, "Yeah, I want to borrow a bunch of Bitcoin"?
For sure. So it's financial institutions. Our primary borrowers are companies that actually have invested in BlockFi. So that includes Susquehanna, Acuna Capital, CMT Digital. And we prefer to lend to companies that have other forms of revenue coming in and where trading crypto strategies is just a portion of what they do. And again, going back to the idea of utility, getting more of these players into the space in the long term will drive the utility of this asset class and I believe drive the crypto industry forward.
Now, the next one comes from Bitcoin Magatao. He wants to know, how can you consistently pay out the interest regardless of demand? Is demand at a constant? And also, what if there's kind of a bank run, so to speak, on BlockFi where everybody just wakes up tomorrow and decides to withdraw all their assets?
Yeah, so in terms of the bank run, this goes back to the maturity transformation that we talked about earlier. So all of our borrowers are on an open call. So what that means is that we can give them notice that we're closing that transaction, get the crypto back, and send it back to the consumer that's looking to do a withdrawal. And then in terms of demand, that we set our interest rates on a monthly basis. So based on the borrowing demand that we're seeing from institutions, we're able to set prices for the next month to our clients on the retail side. The one thing to note is that internally we had this goal of keeping the Bitcoin base rate at 6.2% for a full year, and we've been able to keep that goal so far. So we're really proud of ourselves for being able to do that.
Nice. And like with anything, rates will fluctuate over time. I think anybody who's expecting that the rates will always stay exactly the same, I mean, that's just not how it works. This is an open marketplace where rates fluctuate. In fact, people think, oh, the rates are always going to go down. Actually, it's not true. I think you guys just raised your ETH lending rates last month, didn't you?
Yeah, we raised the ETH lending rates, and then most recently we just changed the Bitcoin tiers. So previously the Bitcoin tier was 5 Bitcoin to earn that base rate, and now it's 10 Bitcoin, so we moved that up. And the ETH rate is also, we just moved it up to 1,000 ETH.
Nice. Now, the next one is from Indigo Ocean. Is are you profitable yet? And I think this question is really about a lot of new startups. They tend to kind of run at the bare minimum or kind of at a loss even in the early stages. So, is BlockFi turning a profit yet?
So it's an interesting question because really our goal is not to be profitable at the moment, because any funds that we make as a company, we reinvest in ourselves to continue growing, right? So we're always looking to launch new products. So the revenue that we make goes directly back into building more products for next year. So no, we're not profitable at the moment. But the way to track whether or not a company is doing that successfully is, are they able to continue to bring in great investors and continue to raise funds at reasonable valuations? And that's as like a client, client that may not know that much about VC funding. When you're looking at a startup and you're trying to understand, like, are they good at managing their model? Really what you should look at is the quality of their investors, because those are the people that can analyze that for you. So as you mentioned earlier, Valar is, in my opinion, one of the best VCs you can work with. And so that should be a testament to our ability to manage our financial model well.
Yeah, and it's important to be obviously reinvesting to grow, right? It's I'm sure you guys want to be the biggest crypto lender in the space, and it's going to require some investment to get there. Now, the next one comes from Crypto Block, and this is actually, I've chosen his question, but actually there's a lot of the same questions, is particularly, are you going to open up to more stable coins? In particular, we had quite a few people asking about USDC.
The answer is yes, and not very long from now. So before the end of the year, you guys will
Woo!
be able to see some really cool new assets on the platform. We're really excited about it.
I'm excited about that too. That's awesome, awesome. I know it's people have been really excited to see new assets coming to BlockFi. I mean, the next question is actually from Kat, and she wants to know, will we be seeing Litecoin coming soon? Is that part of that new tranche of assets coming in? If you can tell us at the moment.
Yep, Litecoin's really high up there on the list. You can already borrow US dollar loans backed by Litecoin, and we're excited to add more functionality there as well.
Very, very cool. Now, one thing that I like too, and this is not so much a question, but now we've been talking about these different assets, is actually the idea of the payment flex. So this is kind of where, if I lend out, for example, USD, I can actually have that paying out in Bitcoin, which I just think, I just wanted to plug that there real quick, because I think it's a really cool feature where you can actually get paid out. So you can be lending one asset and getting paid in another. So if you want to like stack sats, you got some USD, you sit it there, we want to have that USD available later, but you can just have that sitting there earning interest, paying you out in Satoshis, which pretty cool, by the way.
Yeah, 8% of your USD paid out in Bitcoin is pretty sweet. But yeah, Payment Flex is interesting product. So basically, what we saw from our users is, on a monthly basis, we would pay out interest, and then we would see a bunch of people taking that interest off the platform. And when we reached out to those clients, they said, oh, it's because I'm selling it to basically turn it into dollars to minimize my risk. So we were like, oh, why don't we just make that available for you? So what happens here is, if you deposit Bitcoin through BlockFi, you can choose how you earn your interest. So for example, you can send us Bitcoin and earn that 6% interest in GUSD. So that allows you to basically actively manage your portfolio based on your own risk preferences.
Nice. I like that feature. I think it's really, really cool. Now, the next one is this is actually for me. When will we be able to buy and sell directly on BlockFi? Is that something we're going to see coming in the near future?
So we haven't said any of this to anyone yet. So you get to be the first person to hear this, but I'm actually testing buying and selling in my BlockFi account right now.
Ooh,
So it's going to be coming out very soon.
nice, nice. I think that's one of those things that's going to really just help onboard even more people, because you gotta go and you gotta get something from an exchange and move it over, and it's just these extra steps versus just you go to BlockFi, you buy the crypto or you buy the USD, and you start lending it straight away. I think that's really, really awesome.
Yeah, and that's really kind of like our goal as we're building things. It's how can we make it simple? How can we have everything in one place? How can I get you to log in and have an experience that's like peaceful, makes you understand like what your exposure is, how you're invested, and exactly be able to manage your risk and buy and sell as you need.
Nice. The next one's from Cyber Body Shop. They want to know, do you have a plan to offer some sort of like a debit card at some point in the future?
So we do have plans to offer a credit card. And to your point of, you said you liked having GUSD and earning Bitcoin. I love this idea of having a credit card where you earn Bitcoin as rewards, because I think that is such an awesome way to get more people to own crypto who currently aren't in the space. So many people would be willing to like give up their airline miles for crypto that wouldn't be willing to give up, their cash for crypto. So hopefully in 12 months, we'll have something exciting out there for you guys.
Very, very cool. Now, the next one's from Noel. Noel wants to know, how do you compare to Celsius in terms of like your interest, your compound interest? Of course, you guys do compound interest, fees, audits, insurance, all that kind of stuff. I mean, Celsius has got a very excited community, without a doubt. So what's the comparison? How do you guys stack up?
Yeah. So before I answer that question, one thing I do want to say is that I really believe that competitors right now are good, right? Like we are so early in this space that I don't think of this as like, is it Blockfi or is it Celsius, right? It's about every single person out there in the world that doesn't currently own crypto. And in order to get those people into the space, we need Blockfi and we need Celsius. But that said, there are some key differences. The first is we do offer the best rates in the market, and we're the only lender that has products for both retail and institutional investors. We also are the only platform that has institutional investor backing. So we have those investors that I mentioned earlier: Fidelity, Galaxy, Susquehanna, and Valar. We have a US-centric compliance approach. So we have the MSB registration that I mentioned earlier and the numerous state licenses. And as you pointed out, we're the only platform that has flex in your payments. And I think the biggest difference that really fundamentally changes the business model is we've never conducted an ICO. And I mean, if I'm throwing a couple other things out there, we have a perfect lending portfolio performance since inception. We started lending in 2018. We rode the market all the way down to 3,000 in December of last year.
If you can survive that, you can survive anything.
I like to think so, but I'm gonna like knock on wood as we're saying that. I'm not like trying to tempt the crypto fates out there. And yeah, the last plug that I will say, because they just are an exceptional team, is we just have unparalleled client service. If you call us, you're gonna get an intelligent person that understands everything about our platform to answer all of your questions and help you through our products.
Amazing, amazing. Now, next one's from Dr. Schlosser, something like that. Anyway, so they
sounds right.
Yeah, they want to know specifically how is Blockfi able to offer compounded interest when the competitors aren't?
I'm not sure about that. I think it's just math, right? So, I mean, I guess calculating compound interest rate is a bit more complicated than offering simple interest, right? It's a little bit more difficult, but we always thought that the most fair way to pay our customers is to pay interest on all of the assets they have on our platform. Mm-hmm. So if you've been here for 2 years, we're going to pay you interest on your interest.
Nice. And the last one I have here for you is from Oaolele. They want to know what is the 2020 run roadmap looking like for Blockfi, and is there plans to have a mobile app anytime soon?
Absolutely. So yeah, we just finalized this, and the mobile app is going to be happening in the first half of next year. And as I mentioned earlier, credit card by the end of next year. We're building a lot of features and functionality into the app to kind of go back to that theme that I was talking about. Like, how can we make this simple? How can we give you the same power that people have for financial products and cash, just in crypto? So we'll be continuing down that theme.
Awesome. Well, massive thank you to you for coming on and, sitting down, answering the community's questions. A massive thank you, of course, to the community as well for asking the questions. You guys all totally rock. And I just love how, you're so transparent. Just come out here ready to answer any questions, which is totally amazing. And yes, if anybody wants to get more information about BlockFi, there is a link down below where you can get signed up for the service. And of course, if you have any more questions, as Flori said, reach out to the team and ask them.
Yep, we're here for you guys.
There you go. Thank you so much for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.